Welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. Today's guest from the North American Hockey League or now in the BCHL from Sweden, Gabbe Westling. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast.
Thank you so much.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
Very excited to be here.
So we talked a little bit offline. Where are you sitting right now?
For now, I'm at home here in Mora. I live in a small village outside Mora. It's called Longlet. So I'm here now. I've been here for the summer with friends and family. So it's nice.
So you and I connected. This is actually a new initiative. Did a little research on. And you were the first player out of the players that I researched on players that played in the North American Hockey League last year or this year coming up. And I figured that would be a cool experiment to talk about your journey and compare Sweden to the U.S. and now Canada, and also compare one player to another with their different experiences. So Mora, I have to be full transparency as a Leksand guy, didn't have a lot of love for Mora, but we talked a little bit offline that when Johan Hedberg became the coach in Mora, it changed everything. Johan Rosén, another Leksing that, and I forgot who's the new coach for the men's team this year in Mora.
They have Daniel Hermansson and Fabian Gunnarsson. And they were former J20 coaches. So
that's right, and has done an incredible job. And Hermansson has a little bit of background in Leksand. So I think the clubs, even though people in Sweden would never admit to this, but I do think that the clubs are coming closer together. Fans will never be close together over there. But it is the two.
No, that's true.
It is the two clubs that are the closest to each other and were playing in the same division for many years, and now Mora is in Allsvenskan, Leksand is in SHL, has been the opposite as well. But let's talk about your background. So you said you actually grew up in Leksand but moved to Mora, or your dad grew up in Leksand. What was it?
No, so my dad grew up in Älvdalen. So Älvdalen is like 30 minutes a car from Mora, and everyone is in Älvdalen is fans of Leksand. Just everyone is. I don't know why, but it's just is like that. So I grew up with a dad that loves Leksand, and went to their games, and he bought me a jersey, and just like Leksand at the moment. And then I started playing hockey. Started here on my yard. And then since then I just transferred into Mora. I just started playing there, and then I've been playing in Mora all I think till last year. Yeah.
Awesome. So you actually and Mora is one of the NIUs, the national programs for academies. Was it easy for you to choose that? I mean, it's not easy to get in there.
I mean, I'd say, like, because this is my home. I've been here all my life, so for me it was a pretty easy decision. I wanted to go as far as I could through Mora, and I obviously it's my home. My family lives here, my friends and everything. So for me it was pretty easy as soon as they told me that they wanted me here, and I just said yes, because I hadn't really been looking for anywhere else to go, to be honest. So.
To put things in context, out of the team, so when you went there, so that must have been probably 1920 or 1819. Must have been 1920 when you went there for Hockey Gymnasium, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that should be right. Yeah.
Yeah. So out of that year, so moving from U16 into J18 in NIU. How many of your U16 pals or your teammates were able to go to NIU?
I think we were 5 top 6 guys. I think
Yep.
5 or 6 guys. So that was hard too. I mean, you've been playing with the same guys for many years now, and see most of the guys don't come into the NIU gymnasium in Mora. It was hard to see, but at the same time, like, that's how hockey is, I guess. So
Yeah, and I think that's a similar 5 or 6 is actually a pretty good number. I mean, I've seen most places is 2 or 3 of the guys that you play with, and the rest of them are new. So
yeah,
the other guys that are coming in that team, since this is a junior hockey podcast, let's talk about that. That I'm going to pull up that roster just so we can kind of get a feel for where are the people coming from. But it is a lot of people from that region that are attracted to that program, right?
yeah. So I think I know that Mora have been picking and choosing from Norway lately. So
Yep.
we had a couple of guys that came from there, and then the last years the Norway players keep coming. But at the first year, I think it was a couple of guys, 1 or 2 guys from Falun.
Yep.
And then we had a couple of guys from Brynäs. I think 1 or 2 guys maybe. It was a couple of years ago, so it's hard to know all the guys, but I know a few of them.
But I also see in here Karlskrona, Oskarshamn, Söderhamn. These are guys are coming from further down south. Färjestad, a guy from Austria in here too. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But the majority of the people are kind of local, and I think that's a good, a good representation of how it normally works. I mean, if you are the top program, so let's say if you are Färjestad or Rögle, or that may be considered year after year the number one. Frölunda, but even Frölunda is probably not going to be recruiting a guy from Piteå, way down south, all the way to the north. They're going to recruit the players that are close by, that they know, that they have connections with. How many of these guys did you play TV puck tournament with?
Oh, I think it was 3 or 4 of them.
Okay, so it's not a connection necessarily there.
Not really, no. I think I played on the same line in the TV puck with 2 other guys that I played in the same line with in the J18, and I think it was 2 Ds. Yeah, so I'd say over 4 from Mora in the same team.
Yeah. So when you were then in Hockey Gymnasium, did you stay at home or did you live in Okay.
I stayed home. I didn't even plan to move out of here. I like getting food on the table, don't have to cook, just help with everything. So I just stayed home. And it's so close too. I mean, I live, 10 minutes a bike from the city. So there was no reason really to move into town.
Yeah. And Mora, small town Sweden, where you leave your gear there, ride the bike, or to the rink, and everybody congregates there. So let's talk about then your the other part about this. So when you're coming in, you had already got the chance to play for the junior team when you were already U16, right? So
I think I played 2 games or something like that.
But more importantly, you had practiced with that group and been able to kind of compete.
Yeah, I'd say that's the biggest or most important thing about the organization, that they keep the younger players practicing with the older guys. So they're always I know now because I'm practicing with the Mora team now over the summer. So they're always looking for the development. So always the younger guys are always jumping a step forward. So the U16 guys, some of the better guys are playing with the J18 team, and then the top guys of the J18 are practicing with the J20, and then so on up to the Hockeyallsvenskan team.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, it's not like you're a small guy. 6'4", 203. Is that a correct weight as well?
Yeah, I'd say that. Maybe a little bit heavier now after summer, but yeah, I'd say that's spot on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The first thing that pops out for people when they look at your elite prospect is, wow, a big guy for not a defenseman, a centerman from Sweden. So looking back, I mean, 18-19, the first year of, or the last year of U16, 25 games, 29 points, 26 penalty minutes. Definitely, and U16 Elite, which was a very, very tough league. So you held your own. How was it then to go into playing in, back then they called it J18 Elite, now they call it Region.
Yeah.
Again, I have to say I hate the name change. I
agree.
When they called it Elite. But first part of the season, but then you're playing against, so you're at 03, so you played with 02 players, and sometimes overager that could come down, but
yeah,
I would imagine most of the time you're playing against the same age. How was it to make that transition from U16 to J18? Not as much point production, but I'm imagining in here 1920. That also. Now that must have been the year before COVID, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I would say coming from playing on a top line and playing a lot to getting used to a whole new kind of environment and a new team with older guys, like the hockey's more serious, maybe you can say. It was I'd say it was hard. It was really hard because you had to adjust a lot and you wanted to fit in the roster, so you just listened to what the coaches said and tried to do that as best as you could. So I started playing or not playing at all, I think, and then I just moved into fourth line, and then the coaches told us to you have to do like this every game, and then you just listen to that because you want to play. And for me, that put up pretty decent amount of points in the U16 was hard to get used to that role. So that year was tough. I would say it was hard.
Let's talk about that more. How did you work your way through that? Because like you're saying, you're one of the guys that are used to scoring points. Now you're getting all these other, the team, the competency and the competition increases among it, and now you're going to have to fight for it. So did you get pissed off? Did you get, was it tough mentally to go through that?
Yeah, of course. I think at the beginning I was really just frustrated, and it was like, why did I choose this like academy or like I just questioned everything and what am I doing and all that stuff. And then I just starting to realize that the coaches talked to me, and they were really good coaches. Talked to me, and they just showed on paper that we have this decent amount of older guys, and we have guys from Austria or as you said, Färjestad, and they were good guys. We had a good team that year. And they just told me that you just have to learn the game, and next year you'll be that guy, that top guy. So we want you in the lineup, and for you to be in the lineup, you need to do like this and this and this. And for me, it would just say okay and just do what they told me, really. So it was hard, but I kind of understood that if now with moving forward too, I just realized that you can't just always be the goal scorer or the point guy. You have to have a plan B or a B game that also works in a game.
Yeah. Who was the person that you went to? Did you confide to when you were frustrated, but also did you go to your coach or did you go to your dad?
Mostly my dad. Yeah. Of
Talk
course.
about him for a second.
Yeah, no. He's playing hockey all his life. He moved to Västerås, played in the juniors in Västerås. And then I think he's always having trouble with his shoulder. So in Västerås, I think it was in his last year of juniors, he hurt his shoulder or dislocated it. And then since then, he hasn't really been playing hockey at all. So I think as soon as I came to life, he's been living his dream through me. So and I love that. I think it's so fun to see him on all the games and just being so excited about the hockey and everything like that.
Yeah. I just think that dynamic of how it works, even in a small town, between the dad and the son, but then also talk about then the coaches. So who were the coaches in your junior team? Was that
So we had first year, I think it was Johan Rosén and Andreas Olsson. They were really good coaches. So I talked to them, both of them, because I talked to them before they took me into the NIU, and they told me like how the situation was and everything. So I wasn't really that shocked, but I was still shocked, kind of. So yeah, I talked to them and they just told me. So I just had to accept it really and just move past it.
And Rosén, who's now, I believe he is the national team assistant coach, or is he the head coach? Or
yeah,
U17.
No, I think it's the the 06 guys. I don't know what that is now. If the 18 team maybe.
Yeah,
I believe it is. Yeah.
I think it's Johan Rosén and Martin Dahlin maybe that are the J18 national team coaches, but you know, pretty high level.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. But okay, so you went through a little bit of a. How did that shape you going through that, and then going into the next year? Well, before we get there, I also see on here on your lead process, you played 2 games with Orsa J20, which Orsa, for those who don't know, Mora, Orsa, really close around Lake Siljan geographically.
Yeah.
J20 Division 1, but I know that they always had a really good J20 team.
I think because there's a lot of guys in Mora, and the guys that don't play in Mora always go to Orsa and play there. Because it's so close. It's like 15-20 minutes by car. So yeah, I just talked to the coaches because I didn't play a lot and I wanted to play, and they just told me that you can't play like this much as you want. And then they talked because we have a really good connection between Orsa and Mora.
Yeah.
And then they told me that they're having a game and they need players, and I just said, yeah, put me on there. I want to play as much as I can. So it was not a question for me. And the 2 games with Orsa, scored 2 goals in my 2 games there. So it was nice to get that feeling going. Because then I played a lot and I was like just back to myself, I feel like. So that was important for me too, that know that I can still do this. I can still score goals and play my game.
Yeah. I just think that that's a great example of the Swedish system of 2 things: the ability to play up, but also to play laterally for another organization within the season, cooperating. And it's, you're talking about the development, both physically, but more importantly, mentally, to be able to go in and say, okay, instead of you sitting on the bench and not getting playing time and just getting practice time, it works well for the other organization and it works well for you, and best of both worlds for sure. All right. So then you go into 2021 COVID year, right?
Yeah. COVID year. That was a frustrating year. Because I feel like I practiced hard during the summer because I wanted okay, this is my year. I want revenge of the last year, and I feel like what the coaches have told me and everything, it felt really good. So I think I had a pretty good year. I think I had like 7 or 8 points through a couple of 10 or 12 games, something like that.
11 games, 7 points, 3 goals, 4 assists, solid.
So
in J18 region then, which used to be called Elite, but talk about the teams that you're playing. I mean, Örebro, Leksand, Färjestad, Västerås, Brynäs. I think Bofors or Karlskoga is up there too. I mean, very, very, very good teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing in you're playing in big rinks, big arenas every weekend.
Yeah. Of course, the league is good. It's really good. So it was nice to have that feeling back after that dry season before. And then out of nowhere, COVID came, so that sucked really.
So how did it work were you able to go to school in person during that time? You just weren't able to practice?
No, I think it was the coaches just came in after a practice. I was like, yeah, the COVID is coming and we can't do this anymore. And everyone was just so sad and frustrated. And I'm like, can we practice anyway? And it was just, no, you can't. And then the school turned into, how do you say, like distance. So you had to be home and sit through your computer and have classes on the computer every day. So that was also hard because you had like all the friends at school. You're just sitting all by yourself with the computer. It was hard. And then after school was done, the coaches sent out like workout programs kind of. So you had to go practice by yourself too. So everything was all yourself. School is yourself, and then practice. It's not fun at all.
Yeah. What was your in NIU? What was your degree, or what did you study?
I studied economics.
Okay. Was that an automatic? I mean, not every NIU and not everybody on the team will go into a college preparatory curriculum.
Most of the guys went like, I think it was, how do you say, not like
a vocational curriculum, right?
Yeah, that's the word. So most of the guys did that because they wanted to work, and I knew pretty early that I wanted to go to college. So for me, it wasn't really a hard decision to make.
Yeah. What was the so when did you when you were saying college, were you thinking college in the US, or were you thinking about university in Sweden?
No, I was talking about the US.
Yeah.
So talking about like how that started, was my dad has a friend in Malmö in southern of Sweden, and his son was playing at college at the time. His name is Ludvig Larsson. He plays in the BCHL now. So he played in Merrimac College. So he was talking to Ludvig's dad about coming and visiting. So me and my dad went on a vacation, kind of, to see Ludde. So we flew to Boston, and took the car. I think it was like 1 hour or something outside Boston.
North Andover, Massachusetts is where Merrimac.
Yeah. So then he met us there. We just came into this school gate. It said Merrimac College. I was pretty small at the time, so I didn't really understand everything and what it was. Then he just started to show us around, like, this is the school and this is the facility. And then as soon as we walked into the locker room of the Merrimac locker room, I was just blown away. I was just like, wow, this is crazy.
What about it? What was about it that was different than what you were used to in youth hockey in Mora?
I don't know, it's just everything. It was just so flashy with all the like the lights, and they had like a ping pong table and like a cafeteria, and like everything was different, I would say. We had like pretty small benches in Mora, so I wasn't really used to that. And then I was like, when I saw that, it was like kind of an NHL locker room, I would say.
Yes. Logo,
So
carpet, logo on the floor.
yeah,
Everybody
everything.
had
Logo
their
on the roof, I would say. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then the stick rack, I was just standing there and looking at every stick, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And they're still going in school, and I was like, wow, I didn't really understand everything. So that was just blew my mind really, and I was like, yeah, I want to go college, 100%.
What a brilliant move by your dad.
Yeah, I couldn't be more happier that we did that trip, to be honest.
How old were you then? 14, 15 or?
Yeah, I think it was the year after U16, so the year before the NIU.
Okay. Did that so did that kind of was that impactful also because of choosing the college preparatory versus the vocational side? Because I want to highlight that because a lot of people over here in the US don't know the difference. I mean, you could go to college prep, which is going to be kind of the science route or the social science or versus the vocational, which is going to be, you know, auto mechanic, plumber, electrician, painter,
Yeah,
you know, or maybe even the, you know, so I think that's academically it's a lot easier to go perhaps the vocational side, right? It's a cakewalk. And
yeah, I agree.
and if you go the college preparatory side, not a cakewalk. I mean, pretty. I mean, me personally, I did both. I started off in the vocational side, did a year, and realized now I want to go to college, and then quit, went to Technis, and then I ended up here in the U.S. But was that because you went over here and had that kind of carrot in front of you?
Yeah, for sure. Because we talked to him like, yeah, what did you do? What did you study back in Sweden? And everything. So he just like guided both me and my dad through like how everything would work really. So he played in the NAHL. I think he played 1 year in Malmo J20, and then he played 1 year in the Lone Star in the NAHL, in the Southern League of NAHL. And then he played Merrimac. Then he played Penn State, I believe his 4th year. And then after that, I think he went to play 1 season in the AHL, and then he came to Mora and play 1 season, and then Rögle now in Örebro in the SHL.
Yeah, so, I'm pulling him up here too. So yeah, Lone Star Brahmas, Merrimac College, Penn State, NCAA. I actually played Binghamton in the AHL as well. So and played for the Swedish national team as well.
Yeah. So for me, like seeing him going like step for step just made me even more like motivated on how that college journey could go and could see. So I was just excited seeing him because it looked so easy for him too. I was like, he played in the NAHL, and what I've heard, like most of the guys are like, yeah, if you play in the NAHL it's like, you have to play in the USHL. And then I've seen like really a lot of good players play in the NAHL and like play in the NHL or AHL or SHL. So that made me like realize that the NAHL is a really good league too, and that I don't know, like at that time I just wanted to follow his path really.
Yeah. So that really opened your eyes to the junior. So this is a good transition. Well, I want to get there, but did that open your eyes to American juniors or North American juniors, since you're both now you're playing the BCHL?
Yeah, so when he started talking about like the juniors and everything, he went through like, yeah, you have to go juniors either 1 or 2 years before you go to college. And then I started looking up like the junior side, and okay, there's 2 leagues, the NAHL and the USHL, and then I saw like the rosters of every team, and saw like, yeah, most of the drafted guys is in the USHL, and I just looked everything up because I'm a big nerd when it comes to like teams and everything like that. So I just could sit like for days and just scrolling through players and teams to see, like, get a feel of what it's like. And then I think we're in before my first year of J20. Because I'm working with him now. His name is Randy. So he was the guy who helped me to get over to the NAHL.
Yeah.
So that
Randy
process
Edmonds?
with him, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So it's been a huge help for me. And then because I told him that, yeah, I know Ludde and I've seen his way and I want to do the same. And then he said, like, yeah, I like, let's get that going. And
Yeah.
then,
Well, how helpful was that to be able to have someone that can not only the peer and the parent and the family dynamics, but then also someone that you can rely on that can guide the way of, this is really how it works. This is, let me give you the recipe on how to actually, the moment that you make the decision saying, I want to go, it's a daunting task on your own to be able to say, all right, now how do I do it?
Yeah. So it was new. I mean, because I didn't really know what like, okay, so what if we start working with him? Like, what is he gonna do and everything? Because I like had 0 experience, and neither did my dad. But then, like, as soon as we talked to Randy, and he started like having like, cause he started like texting us and saying like in the middle of the J20 season that, yeah, this team is interested and so on, made me like, started like a motivational kind of thing, and was like, yeah, or this is serious now.
Yeah.
And then you could feel like, yeah, because he started sending like Instat after games too, so that helped me a lot, seeing like statistics on everything, on every game, like on face-offs and everything, so I could like sit and watch the games even more than I could before. So that helped me a lot too.
Did you look at
and then
did you look at the stats and the videos, or did you go to Svensk Hockey TV to look at the video?
I looked at the beginning. I looked at the Svensk Hockey TV, but it was so hard because you have to find your own shift, kind of, and like shuffle, and then back, and then, so the Instat really helped. Like, you could see like all of your shifts, and you could see all your goals or assists or whatnot. So
Yeah.
that was really helpful. And then I think it was after the, sorry if I'm moving past now.
Oh, no, it's good.
So after the J20 season, he set me up for a camp in Youngstown for the Youngstown Phantoms in the USHL. So me and my dad, who obviously wanted to come with, traveled to Youngstown. We flew to Washington, I believe, and then we took the car to Youngstown. And then I had the camp there.
Was that a spring camp? Was that a spring skate, or was that during the summer, the main camp?
It was during the summer. I think it was a main camp.
Yep.
So it was, I think it was like 6 teams or something like that. It was a lot of teams, and I've never seen anything like that before, coming from Sweden. And since I've been playing on the same team, really, so I haven't been out on like tryouts and stuff like that. So I was like really shocked, because I just thought it would be like 2 teams maybe and a couple of players. So seeing that like nearly 100 kids was there, and a lot of people and scouts and everything, was both nervous and excited at the same time.
Let me ask you this, because I think, because we went through the same process, parent and me and my son, and did they have a gathering in the beginning when the coach kind of said, all right, here's what to expect, and then you go get your jerseys and you know which team you're on?
Yeah, exactly. So there was like two rinks, one rink with an ice and one rink without an ice. And then he told all the players to gather there.
Yeah.
And like the players just kept on coming and coming. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, that when is this gonna end? I was just scared. I didn't know what's gonna happen. And then everyone got their jersey, and yeah, it was weird. It was pretty weird, I would say.
So and just to be, for those who don't know, for the Swedish listener, I mean, that's kind of how it is at main camp, and that's a invite only. I mean, it's a loose invite. There's a lot of players can go in that may or may not have a shot in reality, but everybody other than, I mean, it depends on which team runs this kind of main camp, but you know, there's some teams that have 10 or some NAHL teams that have 10 or 12 groups, or maybe, so that would be, you know, 20, and it's 20 players per team. You know, they run 3 lines or sometimes 4 lines, and so you're talking about 300 players that are there at one main camp, and you know, going through that process is eye-opening. But for you, so were you not prepared for that, but you saw that when you walked in?
I mean, I was kind of prepared there was going to be like other guys there, of course, but not that many, I would say. So it was shocking.
So how was it then again? So and of course there's no practices. You go in there and now you're playing blue against white or yellow against green or whatever the jerseys that they put up, and everybody's got numbers. How was it then in the locker room? I'm sure that you were the guy who stood up in the middle and huddled up and gathered everybody and had a war speech, right? The Swede?
It was dead silent at the beginning. I was just got into the locker room. Everyone was just sitting on their place. No one was talking.
Everybody's looking around. You are my competition, right?
Yeah. It was so weird because it was the first time playing hockey in another country in Sweden. So just I remember the first, because I was pretty lucky because I got to skate a goalie skate before the game started, because I haven't been on the ice a whole lot. And then the first like realization on the small ice sheet was so just, I would say, was so weird because everything felt like so close to you, like the boards and everything like that. It was pretty fun though, because I'm a big guy and it's hard to skate. Like if the rink is big, you get tired skating a lot. So for me, it fit me like really good with the size and everything. So
all right, so then so you go through that. You probably have 3 or 4 games, and then they make the first cut.
Yeah, exactly. So we had, as you said, 3 or 4 games, I think, and then they're making the first cut. So they cut down to 4 teams.
Yep.
And then there's 2 games, and then the winner of those 2 games go to the final game.
Did they do an older group and a younger group, or did they just after the first cut?
Yeah. So I think they called it like the Young Star game and the All-Star game or something like that. So they had, I think they had the youngest was like 08 or something to 04, so 05, I think. And then the 04s till 02s or 03s, I believe it was. Played an All-Star game. So overall I had a really good camp. And I made the last game. So it was fun. It was really fun because it was the first time on the small ice sheet, and I was just so shocked about many things. Like the physicality of the game was like night and day compared to the Swedish league. Because everyone felt so hungry, kind of. Compared to Sweden, everyone is just hunting pucks, just bombing into the boards, and just crazy compared to Sweden. And Sweden is more like soft. You take it a little bit slow.
Anybody want to pick you for a fight? Because I'm sure that there was a lot of fights too during that.
Yeah. There was a lot of fights. So that was shocking too, because I've never seen. I mean, obviously I've seen like the NHL fights, but seeing it like that close, like their teammates just dropping gloves and fighting, it was a little bit scary, but yeah, it was fun too. And then I think it was one guy who was pretty big. I think we just was in the corner or something, and then he just hit me on the pads, and I was like, I'm just hitting him back, of course. And then he asked me like, "Do you want to fight?" And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not from here." I said, I think I said like I'm from Sweden or something. I can't remember really.
He probably
Yeah,
chirped
so that
you.
was
He probably chirped you all the way to the bench too. So
probably yeah. So because I didn't really know that some of the guys has that thing to do, like to make the team. Because in Sweden you're not allowed to fight, obviously. So yeah, I was like, what is that guy doing? And for him, it was like, yeah, I have to fight.
yeah, no,
Otherwise, I'm not gonna make the cut. So it's just,
I'm just
different.
I'm glad that you're bringing this up because I think that's such a. I mean, for those who've never been through that, I mean, this is why we want to talk about this because it's reality and it's an important part. And you know, like we talked earlier, this podcast is about educating and informing. And what better way to learn from someone who's going through it? But so this was in Youngstown, Youngstown Jets, right?
Youngstown Phantoms.
Phantom.
Yeah, that's the USHL team.
Okay, so this was actually a USHL main camp and not the NAHL camp.
No, so the thing is that the Youngstown Phantoms team have like the same, like an organization with the Maryland Black Bears in the NAHL.
Great. So, I was about to ask. I said, well, you know, Youngstown is not Maryland Black Bears. So how did you end up there?
Yeah. So like both of all of the Youngstown coaches and the Maryland Black Bear coaches was like on the stand, and I think it was maybe 10 guys from the Maryland team was there too.
Yep.
So like they have like this kind of connection that the players that are too good to play in the Maryland go up to the Youngstown and the same thing, but the opposite. Yeah, so I had a good camp there. They just told me that because I'm an international player, so it was hard to make the cut for the USHL team. And then I got to, because I talked with the Maryland coaches there, and they wanted me to come to their main camp because it was like I think it was next week or something. So I traveled down to Washington again with my dad, and we did the first 2 days there at the camp because then we had to fly back home.
Yep.
So yeah, that camp went pretty good too, I would say. And then after the 2 days, the coaches told me that they wanted me there, and they put up a good deal for me. So I was just pretty much blown away, and I didn't say yes or no to anything. I was just like, yeah, I just need to fly back home to Sweden and just think about this for a while because I was just shocked.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second. All right, now you sit here and you have an option of, okay, it's not USHL. It's good that you knew how. I mean, the shot of making the USHL is it's so the eye of the needle is so small, and like you're saying, it's the drafted guys that are going to, which I mean, playing in the J20 National like you did in Mora, you know, certainly you could have played USHL as well, but a lot of people, like you said, people kind of poo-poo the North American Hockey League, and it's a really, really good league. And there's not a whole lot of difference between the USHL and the NAHL. I mean, probably, you know, from the level of play is very similar. There's more skill in the USHL, but it's younger.
Mm-hmm.
And in the North American Hockey League, more physical, more speed. But if you took a NAHL team against the USHL team will probably win, but it's not like it's a huge difference. But the biggest difference, I think, is the age.
Yeah. So fun thing, because we're talking about that, because since we're in the same organization, so every year the Maryland Black Bears team have like 2 exhibition games with the Youngstown Phantoms, the USHL team.
Yeah.
So we played them twice Now I'm just moving forward a bit. But this was when I made a team and made my decision, everything like that. So I think we won the first game with like 5-2 or something, and everyone was pretty much shocked because everyone was expecting like a loss or everything like that. And then it was like a realization that the difference between the leagues, as you said, isn't really that much. It's just that the USL is younger and way more talented than like the NAHL. And maybe I would say the top guys in the USL compared to the top guys in the NAHL is a bit of a difference too. That's like NHL players we're dealing with in the USL. So
yeah. So did you ever think about going back then to play your last year? So you finished, I think this is important. All right.
Yeah.
So you finished your third year in Gymnasium. So now you got your degree, you got your the equivalent of a high school diploma here, plus 1 year, really. But you have a Gymnasium diploma, graduated from there, and then you could have played another year of J20 and possibly got a shot in the Allsvenskan.
Yeah. Yeah. So
with Johan Hedberg as the coach.
Yeah. So I was my first year of J20. I had a pretty hard year. I started pretty good and then I broke my wrist. So that was pretty frustrating. And then once I came back from my injury, I started practicing with the Allsvenskan team. So I practiced with them I had like a bracelet kind of thing for my wrist to have like make it stronger.
Yep.
So I was practicing with them for I think it was like 2 weeks or something. And then when they had a game, I thought I was like next in line. I was like, I practiced with them. I was like all excited. And then the J20 coach told me that because I've been injured and they didn't want me to do like my first game, put me on the Allsvenskan.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit frustrating for me. But after that, when I started playing J20 again, it was like after injury, it's so hard to like come back and do like better or even as good as you did before. It's really hard, especially mentally, because you expect that you're going to be as good and you're not. So all that with your confidence and everything is just bringing you down, and you try to play better and play harder, but it doesn't work, and then you just go the opposite way.
Yeah.
So that was hard, pretty hard year, I would say.
So, but then you made the. So did you end up? Did you have to go to training camp with Maryland?
No. So after I traveled home after the main camp, I talked to Randy, of course, and he told me his pros and cons, and he just wanted me to go there, and because there's so much more. Like, if you want to go college, travel as fast as you can to the USA and just play there, because there's so many more eyes and college team that look at you there than in Sweden. So for me, it was hard making a decision, because I have my family, all my friends. I have a girlfriend here. I have like everyone here. I didn't know anyone, no one in the States.
Yeah.
And at that point, I got a pretty good deal from the Maryland Black Bears, and it was pretty late too. I think it was like in the middle of August or something. So it was pretty late. And then at that time, I just really said that, yeah, fine, I'm leaving. So we just booked the plane ticket and talked to the coaches in Mora, and that was hard too, because they didn't expect it really. And for me, because first when I was flying to the main camp in the Youngstown was because I was planning to play my second year in Sweden in Mora. And I told the coaches that, this is for after the next season, when I have my last year. So they didn't expect it at all, and I didn't expect it either. So it was hard having that conversation with them.
And did you have that with Hermansson?
Yeah.
Awesome coach
So,
too, right?
Yeah, unbelievable. Both Fabian Gunnarsson and Hermansson, really good coaches.
Yeah. So, but then you ended up going. So did you billet? Did you have a billet family?
Yeah. So that was also a new thing. Because when you move over, I'd say like this. It's so nice to have, like, you're staying with a family. It helps you with so much because they're learning everything about the country and food and everything. They just feeding you with like everything you need. So that was very important for me. I don't really know if I could have managed it without a billet family. Because they're just so important. So the team did a really good job with the billet families. So they're having like either you have your 2 guys or 3 guys in one house.
Yep.
So you're never like alone in a billet family, really. And then it's so nice because then you have like players and you're driving with them to practice, and you get like, you're not alone. You're like nearly never alone. So that was important too.
Now you had another Swede on the team, William Håkansson.
Yeah.
Was he in the same billet house, or was he?
Yeah. So I actually met William before I traveled to the States, because we had to fix our visa.
Yeah.
So the visa story was so long and so hard because we had to travel down to Poland and fix the visa there. So it was like, at the same time I was making my decision, I just booked the plane tickets to Poland, flew there and fixed my visa. And all of a sudden I met William there, and because I knew we were on the same team, and he just told me that, yeah, I'm in Poland right now, I need to fix my visa. And I was like, yeah, me too. Where are you at? And then we met for a coffee. So that was exciting. That was nice too. And then we ended up in the same billet house in Maryland too. So that was really nice.
And I'm pulling him up, Växjö guy. So he is playing Lake. So he must be a year ahead of you. No? Wow.
No, he's the same.
So he's already going to Lake Superior State. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, he had a really good year.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too, as well. All right, so I mean, we could talk for a long time about your year in the NAHL, but so when you're playing with Maryland, did you get the call up to practice with the Youngstown Phantoms at all, or?
No. Once I came there, I think they had like one guy that was practicing with their team, but there's so many guys in the Youngstown team, so they're just, throughout the season they're just making cuts and cuts and cuts. So from their team, I think we got like 3 or 4 guys that dropped down to us and play with us. So yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. But you ended up playing for Maryland, and bus rides mostly on the teams that you play.
Yeah. But all the games were bus rides except the showcase in Minnesota. So talking about the showcase just a little bit was
that was in Blaine, right?
Exactly. So that's really big, like a really big thing for guys that want to go to college. It's like, I think it is all the teams in the NAHL like travel there. Yeah.
Was this? So when is this around the Christmas time, or when did you go?
No. This is I think it is in September, late September.
Okay.
So it's like, I think we had 2 games before the showcase or something like that. So 2 games in, and like everything is new really, and then you're traveling to a showcase where nearly all of the schools are looking at you and you want to perform as good as you can. So I was really nervous going into that.
And explain to the listeners too, Blaine, Minnesota. Talk about the rink.
Yeah, so they have like this, I think it was called like the super rink or something. So we're arriving in Minnesota. We're taking a bus from the airport to the super rink to drop off our gear. There's this huge parking lot with like a ton of buses and a ton of cars, ton of people. And then we're walking in there, and someone is telling me like look here, like there's a map kind of thing, and I think there's like 6 or 7 ice sheets.
There's
in the same
8.
kind of
Yeah, there's
yeah
8.
8. Yeah. It was just crazy, and I was like walking through each rink, and was like, well, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and everyone is like looking exactly the same. So I was just blown away, because I think the maximum in Sweden is like 3 or something, and that they have 8 in the same was just crazy.
But then,
So
it's good that you've already gone through the main camp where you have like, okay, lots and lots of people, lots of players, lots of pressure, did fine. So did they explain to you that this is where the college scouts are? I'm sure you had that conversation with Randy.
Yeah, that too. But then I think it was after the first or second game I played with the Maryland Blackbirds, the coaches talked to me about schools and everything. Because I had a couple of schools already that had been seeing me in the Youngstown camp over the summer. So they told me that all of the schools is going to be there. If you perform, it's really good for you and all that stuff. So we started playing games. I think we started pretty early in the morning, and it was crazy to see that there's games in like nearly every ice sheet, and a ton of people and a ton of scouts sitting with papers and writing. So I was really lucky, because I had a really good I don't know what to say, if you could call it a tournament or whatnot, but I'd call it a tournament. But I had a really good tournament. I got star of the week there, so I was just have a lot of confidence coming into the weekend, and excited about all the scouts and everything. So because it is like, if you started talking to schools, you build your confidence so fast. So it's like the first game, I talked to a couple of schools after first game, and then just kept coming and kept going. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. So at what point not to fast forward too much, but you know, since you are committed to St. Lawrence D1, NCAA D1, when did they or how many schools contacted you? Because I'm sure that going through getting first star or getting a star of the week or the game, you're getting noticed, and you're having a good. Because what happens is you're big, right? That's the first thing people are going to see. 6'4". All right, who's this big center? Oh, they look you up. Oh, he's a Swede. Where's he playing? Oh, he's playing in the NAHL. Okay, and then you put up numbers. So a lot of players, you go really quickly up in the evaluator sheets, and they then want to figure out, who's this kid? Is this guy got a character? Is he even a college applicant? Right?
Yeah.
So how many people reached out to you, or how did that work?
So coming from Sweden with like no one talking to you, and just that kind of, I don't know really how to explain it. It was just, they knocked on the door in the locker room, and was like, the coaches came in and like, Gabbe Westling, we need you out there. And then I was like, okay, what do they want now? And I thought the coaches like wanted to yell at me or something. And then I saw 2 or 3 guys after the first game was like in line kind of. And then I started talking to them, and it just kept on coming. So I think it was after the 3rd or 4th game, there were some pretty big schools that was talking to me. I know Minnesota State, QPAC, Quinnipiac, and a couple of other schools. I haven't really thought about it that much. But I think at the end of everything, I talked to like 18 or 20 schools, I believe. And as you said, the thing I realized coming to the NAHL was the size, that they're so like they're I don't know how to really explain it, but the size matters so much to them compared to Sweden. It's crazy, I would say. So like Yeah, you're so big, and you can still skate, and you can play, and you can pass the puck, and you can dangle and shoot and everything. So that was very new and strange at the same time, and
Yeah.
very exciting for me because I've always been like not the slowest guy, but like I've always been a little bit slower than the smaller guys, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So getting that like attention for my size was really good for me and for my confidence.
Yeah. So, because we're running out a little time here, but what made you decide now? So you've committed St. Lawrence,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But what made you go to the BCHL this year?
So I think it's the first year they're opening up for
imports.
international players. Yeah, for imports. And I have had a friend who played in the BC last year, who was playing in the Maryland Black Bears the year before I did, and he came to visit it, and he was talking to me, and was like, "Yeah, the league is really good. It's like the USHL, but it's just the difference is it's another country, kind of." So,
Yeah.
and I want to take my next step, and I want to be as good as I can, and I've had a feel for the NAHL now, and I felt like, yeah, let's try something new. And BC just opened up for imports, and it just couldn't be any better, I feel like.
Yeah. Plus you've already, I mean, you've got your, you know where you're going. So this is like a bonus year that you could go back to this, you could go back to the safe, place where you were before and put up numbers, but you don't necessarily need to put up numbers. What you want is probably development and experience and hone your craft. Yeah. Well, we could probably talk another hour about these things. Maybe we should a little bit later and have you on a second time here. But I really want to thank you for kind of going through this. This is going to be really helpful for some people to kind of, what is it like? There's so many things that if you don't prepare yourself, you would not be ready. If you didn't prepare yourself physically, if you don't prepare yourself academically, if you didn't prepare yourself mentally, it's really, really tough to make it to where you are at this moment. And you had the mentors in front of you with Randy and with Ludvig and his dad, and that can kind of show the way. And hopefully this is going to be informative to those people that may want to be going through the same path. So I want to thank you for kind of jumping on. Let me ask so two things I want to do. If you met yourself, you're let's see, you're 22 now, right? No, you're 19. You're 03.
Yeah.
If you met yourself, as a 17-year-old, what would you tell yourself? I know it's not that long ago, but what would you tell yourself that, now have gone through this process, or the next guy that, if you want to give a piece of advice, what would you tell yourself 2 years younger?
I would say if you get an opportunity and you're don't really sure what you're doing, do it.
Yeah.
So I would say, because I was really comfortable here in Mora, and I had like all my friends and family and everything, and if I stayed here, maybe I could get a contract in the Hockeyallsvenskan and all that. But for me, I want to be as good as I can. I want to develop as good and as fast as I can. And at the end of the day, making that scary moment or that scary jump was like, for me, the right play, because I've learned so much traveling to the US, and not just the changing country, but like the game is completely different. You get a whole lot of experience. You get a lot of attention because you're from Sweden too, and everyone loves Sweden. So it was just a lot of pros, not that many cons, to be honest. Just the worst thing that can happen is just that you move home, and that's not even. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. Just do it.
It's great advice. It's great advice, and I concur. I mean, going through the same journey 30 years ago for me, it was, when you have the chance, take it, whatever it is. Great advice. Last thing, so we have a new initiative through Target Aid. where we're asking each guest to identify the team of your the team of your in your heart, we should say. Klubben i mitt hjärta. Which team do we want to highlight? I suspect I know which one it is.
Mora.
All right, what we're gonna do, we're gonna highlight that. We've set up a site on Target Aid through Swedish Junior Hockey. You're gonna have a little. We're gonna set up one for Mora, and you're gonna be listed there. Klubben i mitt hjärta, the team or organization in my heart. Mora is going to be highlighted there. We'll help out, and we'll see. The goal here is for us to highlight and do some good, help organizations raise money for their youth organizations, and so we will definitely do our part for Mora. Hand to my heart, I have quenched my disgust and hate for Mora after Johan Hedberg and Rosén.
Yeah.
So we will do our part there. Gabbe, thanks for jumping on. It's been fun. It's been educational, and we'll connect again for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really fun and exciting. I would like to come back if it's possible.
Yeah, we'll do it for sure. Thanks again.
Thank you.